It's a Tuesday, the 14th of May 2024. Good morning to you and welcome to the front page review right here on VOP 96.1 FM. My name is Gesiere Agua. You're welcome to the show another day, another day's broadcast. And of course, the news never sleeps. We have the federal government doing things. We have politicians always doing different things. So yesterday we had Labour threatening an indefinite protest to the federal government on the electricity tariff hike, that the federal government should cancel the hike and continue paying subsidies. We also have Band 8 customers saying that they're opting for solar as the electricity energy costs is tripling. We also have the federal government saying they need supplementary budgets to pay the minimum wage. This is according to the IMF rather. The IMF is saying that the federal government may need a supplementary budget to be able to pay the minimum wage. This is according to the IMF. Can the IMF just leave us alone? That's what some people are asking. Can they just leave Nigerians alone so that we can focus on our focus? Well, anyway, we also have in Ondo State and Edo State, INEC has resumed voter registration in those two states. This is for the governorship polls coming up. So INEC has resumed voter registration in those states. The EFCC has indicted Hadi Sirika and his brother in a new 19 billion naira fraud. This is aside from the one already in court, right? We're seeing the EFCC indicting Sirika and his brother in a new 19 billion naira fraud. Federal government plans performance-based salary scheme for workers. We'll be checking that out in a bit, which is really, really interesting to notice. But the National Assembly is moving to bar CBN governors from partisan politics. Now, the National Assembly is seeking amendments to the CBN Act 2007 to bar top officials of the Apex Bank from partisan politics, championed by the ex-lawmaker representing Abia Central Senatorial District, Darlington Wokocha, before he was sacked from office by an appeal court sitting in Lagos in 2023. The amendment seeks to prohibit the chairman, governor, and deputy governors of the CBN from engaging in political activities or becoming members of any political party for 3 years after service. A former governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, it to be recalled, was drafted into the political arena, if you remember, during the 2023 elections, the political season leading to the 2023 elections. You could recall that he wanted to vie for the position of a president. I think he had bought the form and all of that, and then there was a lot of uproar and all that, and somehow this is where we're at the moment. So the former governor of the Apex Bank, Godwin Emefiele, was drafted into the political arena in the run-up to the 2023 presidential elections. A group obtained the intention and nomination forms for the APC for him. So looking at that's generated a lot of tension in the polity following the introduction of the infamous Naira redesign at the twilight of the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. We saw all that drama that played out. So the National Assembly is seeking to bar top officials of the CBN from partisan politics 3 years after leaving that particular office. It'll be interesting to hear what Rufai has to say about this. In Rivers politics, of course, we can't take out Rivers State from this. Fubara is to raise a probe panel on Wike's government. Fubara is to raise a probe panel on Wike's government. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara took the political crisis in the state a notch higher by declaring his intention to probe the administration of his predecessor and his godfather, Nyesom Wike. Fubara, who served as AG of the state during Wike's administration, said a judicial panel of inquiry would investigate how the affairs of governance were conducted before he assumed office on May 29th last year. Talk about a spin-off. It'll be really, really interesting to. I wish I was in Wike's house when he saw this particular headline. So he spoke during the inauguration, Mr. Dagogo Israeli Boroma, as the AG and Commissioner for Justice at the Government House in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Iboroma replaced Professor Zacchaeus Adango, who was reassigned to special duties before he resigned from office. Iboroma was sworn in after the screening by the three-member House of Assembly presided over by Victor Oko Jumbo. The governor said the AG was brought on board at a critical time to tackle the legal matters confronting his administration with bravery and courage. I mean, we're seeing all that is playing out in Rivers State. We'll get Mr. Larry's point of view on this particular development. It's really interesting to see all that is playing out at the moment. Moving on to 2027. There's a video that surfaced over the course of the day yesterday. Atiku and Obi initiate alliance talks against the APC. Atiku and Obi initiate alliance talks against the APC. The 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, on Monday held a closed-door meeting with the former VP, Atiku Abubakar, and a number of PDP stalwarts in Abuja. Peter Obi also met separately with the former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, and former Senate President Bukola Saraki, a development that sparked speculation about a potential coalition ahead of the 2027 general elections. I'm already excited for what the politicking season is going to look like for 2027. Anyway, we've got Who Said What at the moment, and I'll be checking out some of the trending audio. It's really interesting to see the politics evolve into what it is at the moment. But right now, let me play you this particular audio of Peter Obi visiting Atiku's residence yesterday in Abuja.
Okay, so we're ready. All right. Thank you. Okay, my brother. Where's Commissioner?
All right, they were all smiles. You can hear the laughter in the air. You begin to wonder, these people, even though we know that in politics there's no permanent foe or friend, you know, it's just alliances, where your alliances lie at that point in time. And that's what we're seeing playing out at the moment, even though we don't know what the meeting was about. But we get to find out in just a moment. So, Mr. Fubara, Siminalayo Fubara, was talking about intimidation. The intimidation has a time. When the time expires, it's over. This is according to Governor Sim Fubara. Nyesom Wike, who is the immediate past governor of Rivers State, had said that he has sought the forgiveness of God for the mistake of choosing Sim Fubara as his successor. And Fubara couldn't take that line low. He had to say something about it. So let's hear what he had to say.
One has the time. When the time expires, it's over. It's over. Even in the Bible, Pharaoh intimidated the children of Israel, isn't it? Or the Hebrews. It got to a time. The intimidation worked again. It didn't work. So everything that has any bad thing that has a beginning, it has an end. So don't worry. That's why I said don't worry about it. We don't have any problem. We have kept that behind. We're looking. Don't has the time. When the time expires, it's over.
All right. So that is what Sim Fubara had to say in response to what Wike had said day before yesterday, saying that he's apologizing to Nigerians and to God, and sometimes mistakes can be made and he's ready to correct that mistake. And it's really interesting to see politicians always throwing God in the matter of conversation whenever they're having issues like this, or whenever someone is trying to placate Nigerians, quote unquote. You hear them say, oh, God told me to run for president or governor or whatever it is that the politician is vying for. But anyway, a video surfaced about Wike, who talked about godfatherism in Nigeria. And Wike once said that if godfatherism worked in Lagos State, it won't work in Rivers State. It's really interesting to see that he had this to say, and we're still having the drama unfolding in a Rivers State. Why is he still vying for the leadership of the state? Let's check out what he had to say.
It will happen in Lagos State, but it will not happen in Rivers. We are quite different. It will not happen here. As a governor, I will come and go. I can't stop it. I must come and go. All the Kebari left. You've never heard Ugly saying that you will do this, you will not do that. The day my tenure, by the grace of God, ends, I go. That's how God wants it. But see, when you are in a position to think that what's happening in Lagos State, you will do it here, it may be difficult. You cannot continue to say you must be a godfather of the state. That's the problem. It's not possible. Today I live here in the name of Almighty God. I have no business to say, what must I produce? Why? What am I hiding? The people of the state should be able to say, this is who they want to produce. We from the state, we know we are not somebody in the Twitter. Not in Nigeria.
As usual, Nigerians had a lot to say about this video. Some people said, I can't even read some of the comments that were made. It's ridiculous at this point. Someone said, trust the politician at your own peril. So he crucified himself and later denied himself the destiny he chose. All right, it's seeming like Wike lacks integrity, because how can he make this statement on video with proof and still come out to be fighting a sim Fubara? Well, it's really interesting seeing all these things play out at the moment. We get more information. We get more, I don't even know what to call it at this point. Anyway, a video surfaced yesterday for the NLC protests. This is what the NLC president had to say at the protests at NERC headquarters in Abuja yesterday.
This is the way I wanted to be. This is the way I wanted to be.
So pretty much we had the NLC forcing their way into the NERC complex on Monday. Newsmen report that workers under the aegis of the NLC and the TUC thronged various offices of the electricity distribution companies on Monday to protest over the Band A tariff hike. Organized labor commenced their nationwide protests yesterday over the electricity tariff hike and the removal of subsidy. We're still seeing more reactions pouring in. Also, this particular video so apparently in Jos, a young man was caught trying to allegedly detonate a bomb yesterday, May 13th, 2024, at a particular bank in Dadinkowa in Jos, and you could see Nigerians beating him up and they accosted him, and they were trying to bind his hands and ensure that, oh, this individual doesn't run away. Let's listen to what played out.
This boy here loco. Ora carry Ashima. Ya ka go shina ga operation. Oga. Ora ka bari mu dan carry Ashima. What kind of force to make you come back? Make you fire us fire abi. You go collect. You go collect.
He said they forced him to try to detonate the bomb. I'm sure the police will get more information concerning this particular situation for us so we can get a clearer picture on who they are and why they're trying to detonate a bomb in the city of Jos. I mean, Jos is one state that has been having issues when it comes to security and peace in the state. Hopefully, we'll see a lot more peace moving forward in that particular state. Also, we have different individuals talking about what exactly is happening in Rivers State, but we'll not overflog the issue. Let's move on to another headline this morning. On this particular situation, the federal government has planned performance-based salary schemes for workers. Federal government plans performance-based salary scheme for workers. A new wage system based on employees' productivity in the civil service is on the way. That's what the federal government said on Monday yesterday. The government said with the system, workers on the same level could earn different salaries. The government said the formulation of an innovative wage system was being considered because it realized that productivity was a key factor in the growth of the country's economy. The DG of the National Productivity Center, Nasir Raji Mustafa, disclosed this on Monday during a meeting with labor correspondents. He said we're in the process of developing a productivity-led wage system that will ensure that those who are productive are rewarded for their efforts, irrespective of their grade level. Under the proposed system, employees on the same salary scale can earn different wages. When asked whether the new proposal on productivity-led wage system had the support and input of organized labor, the MPC boss stressed that such a task couldn't be carried out without the input of labor. Well, it's interesting to see that we're trying to make salaries performance based. Can it also be done for individuals who were appointed into office, the ministers? Can it also be applied to the National Assembly members themselves? Because we see sometimes that some of them don't even come to plenary, they don't sit, but they get their sitting allowances, they get their stationary allowances, they get every single allowance that particular sit comes with. So we see some of them that do not even push for any bill at all. Some push for very, very redundant bills in the National Assembly. Some push for bills just because, okay, we have to push for bills, even though they know it's not even going to scale the first reading. Right, some of them push for bills that are not even in tandem with what their people, their constituents want. So when you have things like this, can it also be shifted towards the National Assembly? And then again, who's going to pass it into law? Is it not still the same National Assembly? It's a catch-22 situation that we're in, especially when it comes to salaries, when it comes to the National Assembly, when it comes to ministers and the monies that they're being paid, when it comes to the cost of governance as well. I mean, we saw the president promise tooth and nail that the cost of governance was going to reduce. But what are we seeing? Hike everywhere. We're seeing people who have not done what their constituency wants, and we're seeing them getting new vehicles, getting new houses, getting their salaries as it were. And you begin to wonder, when you can't pay minimum wage to well-meaning Nigerians who are doing their everyday work to ensure that ministers, their jobs in the ministry is done, their jobs in different MDAs is done. You have people whose job it is to ensure that the ministry functions in the right capacity that is supposed to be functioning in. But these people are owed salaries. These people are not paid their salaries as at when due. These people are paid the minimum of the most minimum wages. So you begin to wonder, where is equality and equity in all of our dealings? But we're hoping that this performance-based salary scheme for workers will actually come through and do what it's supposed to do. But then again, you also have to look at the fact that some workers do not actually work. Some civil servants do not go to work. Yes, but they get paid. You have civil servants who have different jobs, 3 different jobs, which is against the civil service law, right? So you have different situations at the moment, but hopefully we get to see implementation of this on different individuals in the government. We'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be speaking with Rufai Oseni at 7:30. You want to stick around for that conversation. By the way, we are live on YouTube at Voice of the People 96.1 FM. Voice of the People Abuja is our YouTube channel. You want to stick around for that. Join us right there. We'll be talking about Fubara is setting to raise a probe panel on Wike's government in just a moment. Stick around for that. Thank you for staying with us. This is still VOP 96.1 FM. My name is Gesire. If you're just tuning in, you're welcome. You haven't missed much, but we'll get to start with Fubara and Wike. The drama is just, it doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. If you didn't listen, there was a conversation that Wike had, especially when it comes to godfatherisms. All right, we have Mr. Rufai on the phone this morning. Good morning to you and welcome on board.
Morning, Jesse. I mean, I just want to piggyback on what you were saying about Wike and Fubara. I mean, I'm happy that Fubara has been able to now start fighting back. You know, Wike should know that one man cannot be the god of another man.
Hello.
I said to get Fubara. Can you hear me?
Yes, no.
Words like that Wike uttered that it was a mistake to bring in Fubara, and I'm wondering, a fellow human being a mistake because he's not doing your bidding? That's not fair. And I'm happy Fubara had to reply by saying they said that was a mistake, but we pray that you keep making these mistakes. Because it's very sad. A man cannot rob through and think he's God over the next one. That's why I'm happy that Fubara should probe the Wike administration. But also he should prove himself because he too was part of that administration. And tell us why he was chasing us, chasing him. So if he too is found wanting, he too should raise his hand up. and be ready to face the consequences. So I don't care for two of them. All I care for are the Rivers people that are suffering at the middle of all of this. But it is also a very sad reality that Godfatherism reigns supreme. That's why someone can have the effrontery to say, "Oh, I made you. It's a mistake on my part that I brought you in the first place," and all of that. So it speaks volumes about them. Anyway, we knew that this was going to happen. We are not surprised because we've always seen people fight with their godfathers one way or the other. And more fights like that will emerge.
Mr. Rufai, there was a video that surfaced. There was a video that surfaced. There was a video that surfaced with Wike talking about godfatherism in Rivers State. He said if it works in Lagos, it's definitely not going to work in Rivers State. By the grace of God, when he's done with his tenure, he's going to leave the office for whoever is in charge. That he doesn't have any skeletons in his cupboard, so why would he be trying as much as he can?
With due respect, there are many videos that have circulated that have shown that Wike had reneged on his said. Many videos. You remember the video said he's never going to do this, he's never going to work against PDP and all that. I mean, there are many videos now. But what we are saying is that we should not have a system where some people can feel that they are God because they grab political power. You should be able to do your part. After doing your part, serving and letting go. That's the essence of true leadership. But since we now have a protest that supports all this political brigandage, then we must fight it head on. That's just it.
We know that Port Harcourt's River State. Mr. Rufai, we know that River State is one state that, when it comes to finances, apart from Lagos, it's one of the biggest here in Nigeria, and we know that the politics of 2027 has started. So obviously, there's a lot of grappling for the welfare of River State, because who controls the power controls a lot of things right now. Unfortunately,
you see, there's all of this grappling for political power. Hope you know it's because of the resources. If governors did not have overarching access to the resource of the nation, there will be no grapple for political power. It's because of the resource. So because whoever controls them, because the country is poor, if you have resource power, you can make people to do your bidding. But it must not always be the other of the case. It must also be a case made for constant accountability and constant telling the political class that you can't get away with murder every time. So that must be the overarching interest of all Nigerians and how we can get things done effectively and do it well. So we must be able to now stand firm and have a people class that stands solid. And that's why, yes, the court might say, "Oh, what's their locus in the matter of the Rivers elders?" But Rivers elders going to court over the state, I think, is one of these few rays of hope that shows that the people too matter in all of this. You can't just come and just bamboozle them and do things that will affect their life and expect them not to speak. And these are the challenges we have. So the earlier we do it, the better it is for all of us.
Mr. Rufai, when it comes to finances in governance, especially in the state, right, is it possible that there can be laws that sort of shackle the hands of the governor from putting his hands into the public coffers? Is there something that can be done about that? Because when you talk about controlling the entire resources of the state, it's a scary thing to be able to put your hand in public coffers that is meant for local governments. Let's not even talk about the local government and how much the governors always
but
look
there
down
are
on
laws.
them.
But the problem is, we have lawbreakers in this country. There are laws. Not that there are no laws. There are laws. There are laws. But it's just that we are lawbreakers, and we need to be able to actively have people that can stand for the rule of law, which is a very hard one in this part of the world. So those are the problems we face. Not that there are no laws. There are many laws. There are many laws. Before the government can be able to pass anything, it must take it to the council. But when most of the people in the council are doing this bidding, how do you expect them to go? Okay, look at the National Assembly. The National Assembly in each state is supposed to ride as an oversight on the things you do as a governor. But guess what? The first thing the governor does is he pockets the State Assembly. You hear the opposition saying that he was the one that bought form for most of them in the first place. So those are the challenges they have. It's not that there are not laws. It's not that for the want of laws. But it's just because we've built a system that people can bypass. And unless we stand accountable for this system, nothing will be able to change. And that's why we need more accountability in the system, which is the hardest one. Let's move to other pressing stories.
All right. All right. We have the federal government talking about performance-based salary scheme for workers. I find this really interesting because we know that some civil servants do not work. They do not go to work. They do not do the needful. They do not do the things that they ought to do. Sometimes you walk into any MDA and you see them playing spider solitaire on their systems. You see them gisting, breaking granite and gisting like we are in the marketplace, right? So I know that there's that aspect, but there's also the aspect of, okay, apart from workers who get the minimum wage, what about the National Assembly? What about the ministers themselves? Can we not have a performance-based salary scheme for those individuals as well?
I think we should have a performance-based salary scheme for everybody. You should be able to show us the outcomes you have vis-a-vis the work you have done. If you can't do it, then I don't think we're ready. In Singapore, that's the other thing. That's why I see that some ministers will earn higher than some, because it's mostly performance-based. The government of Singapore is sort of like run like a civil, like not a civil service, like a proper, startup of some sort, or blue chip company. And we need to be able to have that. Even with the National Assembly, you should be paid per contribution, bills, and things like that, and things you're able to push on the front burner. But you see, we have a very lazy structure where people just get away with a lot. And that's why, because, okay, take for instance, the ministers that President Tinubu said he was going to, have a performance orientation for them, that if they don't do well, he was going to reject them or something. This is it's going to be 1 year on May 29. Now, today we are May 13 or something. We're going up to 1 year. What has been done? There are many ministers that have not been performing. So take, for instance, we've not even had a verdict on the Better Edu issue. The Nigerian minister have not had ministry. Are you clearing Better Edu? Are you letting her come back? Are you letting her go? I mean, have a position on this, like they say in the local power, pick a struggle. So these are the questions we keep asking. But, some things I would like to talk about. Yesterday, the president at FEC was talking about CNG. I'm happy about that story. But the question is, how available is it going to be? Well, we need to be able to get more stations where we can get CNG. We need to be able to deepen that CNG adoption. And I've always been campaigning for CNG. I drive a CNG car. So we need to deepen that level of CNG adoption. So that you can also be the order of the day. Also, Mr. Cardozo was speaking somewhere. He was speaking to the FT. And he was saying, yes, they are doing a lot. Foreign investors are beginning to have hope in their system. Yes, they're beginning to have hope in their system of Forex, because, we are running a lot of open market operation. There's a lot of hot money coming in. We have high bond interest yields and things like that. But what we really need should be FDIs. And in all fairness, they can't do it alone. There's also a need for fiscal side also to come into it. You also talked about inflation. Yeah, inflation is growing, which is being pushed up because of food inflation and other encumbrances. And what are the things causing food inflation in this country? We know the legacy issues of insecurity over the years, logistics, infrastructure, and things like that. These are the paramount problems. So the question is, how can we solve all of this and put them in one basket and be able to, start to clean up the system to ensure that we push inflation down? Because food makes a very big bulk of inflation. I mean, you remember when we had the border closure, how inflation surged, which is really determinant on food and the like. So how can we be able to, help restart the system? And I think those are the conversations we should, have. Yesterday, President, First Lady Oluremi Tinubu launched something that's really important for women, and it's called the Old School for Women that have been disadvantaged in the past. And I think it's quite a very laudable venture. They had African heads of state that means a lot of funfair in Abuja, which is a good one, because you see, once women miss the track, maybe they have babies or things like that at some point in time, so always to get them back into schools that can at least give them skills for the future is always a difficult one, vocations and things like that. So with an old school and alternative school like this, at least you'll be able to give them some vocations and things like that and help them pretty much if they want to still go up the ladder, so that we'll be able to fund education and this woman will not become a liability to society. So I'm really very excited about multiple ventures like that. And I also think what we can do is also do more to be able to ensure that women are not left behind. Another story I would like to talk about, is a story that talks about the fact that due to the divorce between Bill and Melinda Gates has gone to set up her own foundation. So, and what she's going to be doing pretty much now, she got about 12.5 billion to set up her own and to give to charitable causes that she's passionate about, with the air for development and all of that. So, let's see how all of that pans out, And also, let's not forget the fact that the Trump trial still continues. And the lawyer Cohen was speaking yesterday and was revealing how they paid hush money, to various people, to be able to silence sexual shenanigans of President Trump and all sorts of things that happened and the hush money regime and all of that, and how all of this happened. I mean, he spilled the bean a lot. Yes, in fact, he even played a recording of when he came to record, when he had his phone on record, and he was speaking to Trump about some hush money payments and all of that. So, I mean, let's see how this pans out. Some analysts are saying that we don't really think it's going to move the needle. Yes, it's a thing of national shame and embarrassment, but for the major Trump voting bloc, it's just an incentive for them to be able to, say they want to come out and vote and all of that. And the American elections are shaping up. Joe Biden is dealing with his problem as regards the economy. Gaza issue too is still there. Netanyahu's recalcitrant nature and all of that still going on. The bombings in Rafah and the hypocrisy of America as regards that, and the subservience of America to the what is called the Israel lobby or the Jewish lobby. So I mean there are many international factors that are going on around the world, and as regards to that. So, and I think today in sports, most Arsenal fans will be praying that Tottenham should do the Lord's work for them against Manchester City. And I don't think that prayer will
It
come to
will not
fruition.
work.
Manchester City is in great form, and
Yes.
probably they will consolidate. And after today, maybe Arsenal fans will drink akamu. But they fought a good fight. But they let themselves down 2 seasons in a row. Maybe they can be 10 times lucky. I mean, there's been a lot of great discoveries, like Kai Havertz. You know the song now Arsenal fans sing for Kai Havertz. They say Zamila Mila, hey, Waka Waka, hey, 60 million down the drain. Kai Havertz calls again because when they bought him for 60 million, a lot of watchers were saying, "No, it's money spent down the drain and all of that." But today, Arsenal fans are enjoying Kai Havertz. Why Chelsea is really, So I mean, let's see how all of this
All
pans
of
out. I
that
think
pans
we've
out.
pretty much been able to take real cover as regards the happenings and things that are going on.
All right, Mr. Rufai, before I let you go, the National Assembly has moved to bar CBN top officials from partisan politics. That this is 3 years into leaving the office, right? What's your take on
Very
that?
good one. I mean, we all know that this is because of the Emefiele debacle. This is very good one. And I think that should never have happened again in our Nigerian politics. That a CBN governor, sitting CBN governor wanted to run for governor. If he wanted to run for president, he should have pulled out. So that's a sad reality. So I mean that's a good one. But also in passing those laws, let them not overly whittle down the autonomy of the CBN. It has to be said.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Absolutely appreciate.
Have a good one.
All right. To you listening, you have the opportunity to call, join in the conversation 0700 961 961. I'm laughing about this because Man City is my team and I am definitely rooting for them. Arsenal, Una must go down. You must go down. Anyway, call the studio lines or leave a comment on our YouTube. It is Voice of the People Abuja. Voice of the People Abuja. Join us and let's have a conversation. You can leave me a WhatsApp message on 0700 961 961. 0700 961 961. All right, I'll go ahead and pay some bills. And when I come back, I'm sure I'll be speaking with Mr. Larry Ogoego. So make sure that you are tuned in, locked and loaded on VOP 96.1 FM. I'll be back in just a moment. Thank you for staying tuned. This is still the front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. And you have the opportunity to call, join the conversation, be a part of it. It is at 0700 010 961 961. 0700 010 961 961. Let's hear your views, especially as regards the headlines this morning. The governor of Rivers State is set to raise a probe panel on Wike's government, right? We know that he was also a very, very integral part of Wike's government. He was the accountant general of the state, so you know that whatever monies were moved, obviously he had a say in whatever monies moved in the state. So if he's setting to probe Wike, I'm sure he should be ready to reveal the skeletons in his own cupboard as well. Hopefully we get to see a very, very transparent process in that particular thing, even though he's just trying to fight back in Wike for the leadership of the state. Now, the National Assembly has moved to bar CBN governors from partisan politics. The National Assembly has moved to bar CBN governors from partisan politics. They're seeking amendments to the Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007 to bar top officials from partisan politics 3 years after service, right? So we also have in the news Atiku and Obi initiating alliance talks against the APC. It was a closed door meeting though, so we do not know what they were talking about, but so far we've seen Peter Obi visiting the former vice president Atiku Abubakar. We've also seen him visit the former governor of Jigawa State, Sule Lamido, and we also saw him visit the former Senate President, Bukola Saraki. So all these visitations here and there have sparked speculations about a potential coalition ahead of the 2027 general elections. I mean, we haven't even survived the inflation. We haven't even survived the devaluing of the Naira, but we're already seeing politicking going on because politics is politics. It will never sleep. So anyway, we still have the federal government planning performance-based salary scheme for workers. We have the federal government planning performance-based salary scheme for workers. Even though this is just in the civil service for now, we're hoping that it can cut across different cadres of government, right? We hope that at least the ministers, even though the president had set up something for the ministers, that is the performance, the KPIs to ensure that these guys are doing what they ought to do. We've not seen any review so far when it comes to the ministers themselves and the entire cabinet, but we'll get more details in a bit. We have Mr. Larry on the phone. Good morning, Mr. Larry, and welcome.
Yeah, thank you, yes.
All right. We are seeing drama developing in Rivers State. I don't think that this is something that will end anytime soon, but a Fubara has decided to launch a probe on Wike's government, considering he was the accountant general of the state during Wike's administration. Just how transparent is this process going to be, or is it a face value type of fight against Wike?
The truth is that he has a right to set a panel, to set up a panel to check what happened to their money, especially if he feels that there was foul play. And he should know if there was foul play because he was the accountant general. Whether the panel will be transparent or not is left to one's imagination, and it depends on your interpretation of transparency. But the truth is that he knows where at least most
the bodies are buried.
Bodies are buried, so there'll be a lot of assuming. He's basically also using the arsenals in his at his disposal to fight back. So one wouldn't blame him for that. Some people will be wondering, so if he was accountant general, how is he going to manage the fact that he was there when these things were happening? Of course, there are several dimensions to it. Dimension number one is that he was a public servant, so if he was given an instruction to maybe make a payment that all the approvals on paper have been given, well, fine, he has a duty to do that. But the more interesting dimension, which has become part of Nigerian politics notice is that if you're a governor, you have immunity. And Wike is not a governor anymore. He doesn't have immunity. He's a governor. He has immunity. So it's going to become a little complex. I think this fight is gradually coming to an end, the way I look at it. That is, we are getting close to the end game, because finally there is a fight. I've been talking about the issue of two boxers passing around in a ring, and they are not making much contact. Now, the contact has begun. In other words, the two boxers are really like beginning to fight. So they won't fight forever. Yes, they are beginning to engage. So very soon the fight will get blood, and then one of the boxers will either go through a TKO, or the referee will stop the fight if there is injury, or they will get to the end of the fight and somebody will win. But the truth is that it may not last much longer if they continue with this level of engagement that is happening now. Not that I like the fact that these things are happening, but it's better than just wasting our time. It's good that Fubara is asserting himself. So whatever Wike has up his sleeves, he should also bring it to the table. Then they will fight. And then, like they say, fight to finish, and then finish the fight so that we can have peace. The truth is that Fubara has a right to set up a panel. That's what he has done. Of course, Wike will be preparing his defense, maybe to go to court to stop the panel from sitting, so that he will buy time and look for what next to do. Most of these things are predictable in Nigeria. And then if they have their cards properly arranged, the court may rule that they have a right to stop a panel. It has happened before. And you can see that the senior advocate is the new commissioner for Justice and Attorney General of the state. So he's preparing himself for a brutal legal battle. Yes. So the truth is that for once, the Fubara camp is fighting back. And the Wike camp, obviously, you see they're not making too much noise now. They are strategizing because they received some unexpected blows. For instance, somebody told them, the court, to stop parading. So it's becoming a real fight. I wish they would save Rivers State and the rest of us from watching this fight. We are not enjoying it. Personally, I'm not enjoying it. But rather than just waste the time of the state, time that they should invest in development, and then every day we're talking about this, then they might as well do what they have to do, engage and finish it so that they can move on.
All right, let me just take a step back, looking at Wike and Amaechi. We know that Wike won his fight against Amaechi for the leadership of to control the political structure of the state, and we saw the drama that played out here and there. Thugs here, this one's building is being moved from one. There was a lot of drama in that, but Wike won. What did he do to win that particular fight? And how can Fubara have an edge in this? Because Wike is somebody who doesn't back down. I mean, we've seen it so far, in his politics.
Well, it's not just a matter of really backing down. It's a matter of who is supporting you. You may recall that Wike, first of all, got to the government house on the back of the support of the leader of PDP, that is the First Lady and the President, as it were, supported Wike. So he had a power base that was very powerful. Apart from being a fighter, he had support. And as a governor, you really don't need that much support to control the state if you have the wallet of the state, and it's a rich state. The only challenge you may have is if you have the center fighting against you, because in Nigeria, the president and the presidency is very powerful. You cannot pretend about it. But the governor is also very powerful in his own state. And the way the laws are wired, the governor is reasonably protected. When Tinubu was the governor of Lagos State, he had major disagreements with Obasanjo to the extent that at some point they were not getting the local government funds. But he stood his ground, and Obasanjo really couldn't do much about that. What he could do was stop the state of the local government fund, and the man went ahead with running his state without the funds. So there is no magic in that. Rivers State is a wealthy state. The IGR can sustain the state comfortably. So there isn't really so much an external person can do, but then there are also political things the person can do. So I think what advantage Wike had at that time was that he had the explicit support of the center. So much so that, of course, you know that Amechi eventually even left the party for them altogether. So I think what is going to happen now is that Wike is going to still, play his game like a bull in a china shop. He's very assertive. He doesn't really back down. But the truth of the matter is that Fubara has some great legal and political advantages. Wike doesn't back down. But remember that after the PDP primaries, he backed down to the extent that he lost the primaries. Atiku won. And then he went away with his tail between his legs. And I remember that at that time the noise diminished significantly. So Wike doesn't back down is well when there's a battle to be fought. But if Fubara is able to manage a technical knockout, he will just walk away. Because the person can whine and grumble in the background. So the point is, Fubara has to play his game right. He should take good team on his side. Of course, Wike won't back down easily. That's the way I prefer to put it. But if you look at the handwriting on the wall now, the presidency said we are not going to interfere. So let's assume they won't interfere. Then the next question is, so what are Wike's options? The major trump card he had was impeachment. I have majority of the House. But you can see that as it is now, that gamble of all of them moving in one fell swoop to another party may have not
played in his favor.
Good strategy, because as it is now, that move alone created a controversy about whether they are still eligible to impeach
state members
or not. If you look at it, a lot of people, if you look at that law on the face value, actually, the moment all of them moved, they lost the legal or moral grounds to say we are sitting, because we were elected on the platform of that party. But I don't even want to dwell on that controversy. The most important thing is that with that controversy surrounding their move, that trump card Wike has been mired in that controversy. So it can't be used readily. As it is now, the court also said, don't parade yourself as. So it's becoming a lot more complex for Wike. And one of the things I would suggest is that they should find a way to resolve this matter and save face for both of them. Unfortunately, Wike is not very strong on pulling back if he's fighting. But I think it's the wise thing to do. It's the wise thing to do, because it's also in the interest of the people of Rivers State that they should resolve this. It will get to a head somehow and stop. But why can't we stop it earlier if we can, and save the trouble, save the resources, save the distraction, save the money that we are using to organize rallies and all of that? People are benefiting. Some people are putting up all those rallies, demonstrations, media attacks, and then of course you have to argue the machine that somehow gets those things done. We need to save all the resources and the energy and use them for the development of Rivers State. That's what I think. But I don't know if Wike, I don't think it's likely to that pass. He's not known to be a person who easily
backs down.
Backs down, or who easily gets into conciliation. If you remember what happened between him and PDP and what is still happening, that tells you that we may be in for a long haul. But Fubara is fighting back, so sooner than later there'll be a technical knockout. That's my prediction, and everybody will go rest.
All right, all of this drama is just for 2027, and we're seeing Atiku and Peter Obi yesterday. They had their first meeting after the 2023 elections. I mean, permutations. A lot of people have been talking about the fact that the closed door meeting Peter Obi has been having with different people, different stalwarts, people like Bukola Saraki, people like Asuli Lamido. These are the people that he's been having meetings with. So are we looking at a coalition, or do you think there's a possibility of a potential coalition ahead of the 2027 general elections?
Of course, there is a possibility. First of all, Nigeria is still drifting. There's a lot of discontent. And it's on the back of that kind of discontent that people will still have hope of being able to dislodge the sitting government. That's exactly what happened
Exactly with the
between
APC.
APC and PDP. When there is a high level of discontent, you can actually, if you can mobilize enough political base, then you can persuade people that this is not what you voted for. This is not the hope you voted for. So can we make a change possible? But for you to do that, especially as an opposition party in a country called Nigeria, you need generals from different parts of the country who have a strong financial base and a strong political base. So yes, there could be a coalition in the offering. They call it building bridges in politics. So they are basically looking at their options. That's what I think. But the truth is that most of the time when they want to have these coalitions, they have the problem of who gets what position. If they can rise above the issue of selfish interest, who gets what position, and act on the basis of who is the best person to give us what we want, that is if they are applying a coalition, then they're more likely to succeed. That is actually the trump card that APC had. Pick a Buhari that always had 10, 11 million votes, even without a structure, and then give him a structure that will get more votes in the Southwest and elsewhere. He will give you the election. That's what they did. So if the opposition can also come up with a credible candidate that has mass support, and then genuinely draw more support from for the person from other parts of the country, then they have a serious fighting chance. So but once politicians begin to hold this kind of meeting all over the place, then they are considering maybe it's like some kind of courtship. So maybe we'll be expecting a marriage.
Talking about a marriage, what happened last year, or rather the 2023, the run up towards the 2023 elections, was an Atiku not wanting to give Peter Obi the flagship, being the flag bearer of the party. So I don't know if that will still come into play at this point, because an Atiku will not accept anything less than the presidency, right? He will not accept anything less than that.
Not necessarily. Sometimes you just get to realize that this game is over. Just like in football, sometimes when they blow the final whistle, you see people bow their heads, some shed tears. Oh, this game is over. But they come to terms with it. They go home, take a shower, and they realize that we just lost the World Cup. We just lost the finals. And they move on. What I'm saying is that sometimes you do an appraisal and realize that, yes, you've given this thing a best shot, you may just move on. So you don't know what's going on in Atiku's mind. That's what I'm saying. Paolo wanted to be the president of Nigeria. He gave it a good shot. Remember, 2/3 of 19 states, he did everything he could do, to become the president of Nigeria. But at some point, he came to terms with the fact that he wasn't going to be president. So I think we cannot speak for Atiku and say that, he will still insist on running. We can't say. He may just decide he won't run and look for the best candidate to
support.
Run. Sometimes you need to begin to define greatness not as the position you occupy, but as the good you are able to do. When I talk with people and I remind them that Mahatma Gandhi was never the Prime Minister of India, they are shocked. A lot of people think he was. He was the father of modern India. That's the day he died. The Prime Minister of India cried while announcing to India that Papa was dead. In fact, the man said that the light of India had been put out. A prime minister practically broke down. So what more respect can a man get? The problem we have in Nigeria is that we define relevance with office, even when we perform in a very dismal, in a disastrous way. We just want to have the office. So we say he was X this, X that. The person will get pension for life, get security for life, get cash for life. So we are driven by selfish gain. But if you're a real statesman, you should be thinking of public good. And if you're thinking of public good, and you know that if you support a good candidate, the person will deliver public good, then you should get to that point where you take a hard look at yourself and say, let this person go and deliver the public good. Gandhi could have been prime minister. He didn't bother. He was the father of modern India. And this man described it very brilliantly, that the light of India had been put out. So who's going to be the light of Nigeria? To the extent that the person, we will look at the person and say, this one actually gave us light. This one was, maybe now that we're in darkness, this is the person who liberated us from the darkness. That's the kind of leader I'm looking for. And I'm not looking for people who want to win elections. I'm looking for people who want to affect generations, impact generations. So Atiku may wake up and decide, I want to be that leader who will bury my own personal ambition to impact generations. And if he makes that choice, who knows? He may throw his weight behind one of the younger talks to wrestle power from APC.
All right. Moving on from that, the federal government has planned a performance-based salary scheme for workers. I know this is one that you'll be very interested in, because the way you talk about the civil service and the civil servants themselves and the way they do their jobs, I know that this is one thing that you would support. What do you think?
The truth is that the concept of work and pay is supposed to be based on output. I've always been very worried by the fact that Nigerian civil service is not about output. It's about position, about the degree you have, about who
level
you know,
you're in,
about how long you've been in service, not about merit, not about output. And it's about time we change those things, because the truth is that no matter how powerful we are as individuals in terms of entrepreneurship skills and all that, the person who regulates the environment where we do the business is the civil servant. So if we have sloppy civil servants, I will have plenty of sloppy civil servants now, with all due respect to the great civil servants that we have. As long as we have a sloppy civil service, you find out that because they regulate the environment, it becomes very difficult for you to perform as a businessman. I'll give you a simple example. My friend opened a business center some time ago. That was in the early 2000s. It was a sad story. And on the day he opened the business center officially, then they had these business centers. That is early 2000. He opened a modern business center, plenty of systems, everything. And then the very day he launched it, some touts walked into the place just after the launch, and people, feasted, and people were testing the equipment and said, wow, this is nice. Some touts walked into the space and took the server system and said he had not paid this and that and this and that. You have not paid for business premises. You have not paid for waste management fees. You have not paid for. And it was like a bad dream. The business opened that day, and someone came to demand taxes and rates and payment of this and that the same day. And I'll tell you, that is how that business closed. My friend said he's done with doing business in this country. And shortly after, he took a walk. He just went away from Nigeria. That's how all that investment, millions
went down the drain.
Then one money had value, went into the dustbin, because the civil servants were so dumb that they didn't know that you cannot have a baby today and tell the baby to start buying rice for the house, to start contributing to rent. It doesn't work that way. The same day the business was born, they saw the banner, they saw everything. So when you have sloppy civil service, you have all kinds of, they mess up regulations, they do all kinds of things upside down. So we need to have a civil service that people are actually properly managed, properly, what do you call it again? We have to do appraisals, not after 5 years. This 5-year appraisal, I don't understand it. We have to run a civil service like a corporation, just like in Singapore and some other countries that are succeeding. You have to run the civil service like a proper corporation and pay them well too. And if the person is not delivering, sack the person. One of the most cumbersome places to lose your job is the Nigerian civil service. You can do anything and everything. They won't lose the job. The worst case scenario, they move it to another department. Just keep moving the person all over the place. To sack a Nigerian is very difficult. And that is why, because they have that security, they behave anywhere they like. Of course, don't talk about the local government. Most of them don't go to work at all. Sorry, they don't. They just go towards the end of the month, sign the papers, and collect the salary. And we can't be talking about jumbo pay, 600 something and all of that. We are not asking, so who will pay that money? How do we create the productivity that will pay all of us? Because whether we get paid or not is a factor of what we produce. Usually, this minimum wage should be tied to the productivity of the country. What's our GDP as a nation? So we need to begin to look at some of these things, and I'm glad that we are talking about it. But my pain is that public servants, that is those who serve us as political appointees especially, are not held accountable. The commissioners in the states are not held accountable. The ministers at the federal levels are not held accountable. They still pretty much do what they like. Look at what happened to Hadi Surika when he was doing the dance of the forest with Nigerian or whatever he called it. We were all complaining and shouting. He didn't listen to us. Now he's going to EFCC. He's preaching about prophets going to prison. So the question is, why couldn't the system stop him? Why couldn't a Mr. President or a National Assembly say, you can't be doing this? It's embarrassing. I mean, why couldn't you listen to the aviation operators in Nigeria who said, if you want to outsource management of Air Nigeria, make it open. We can all bid. Why would you just sneak in a competing airline and give them your own airline to operate? Who does that? We felt it wasn't a problem. It was okay. Now that he has finished the charade, we now decided to try him. Why waste all that time and money? Why even lose the money in the first place? Now you're saying he did this, he gave this contract, he didn't do this. If we had an appraisal system that was, if the person starts going the wrong route, you get rid of the person. We have so many Nigerians who can be aviation minister. Doesn't have to be him. So we need to have an appraisal system that works, not just for civil servants, but for politicians. And of course, we cannot sack a Mr. President because we don't have a National Assembly that is independent enough to do the needful. We can't sack governors because we don't have House of Assembly that are independent. So what it means is that if we get to that and we do the scorecard for the executive, we should be able to sack them. Worst case scenario during the next election. Do we even do that? No. So we need to shift our mindset, all of us, to that output-driven engagement in our workplaces. If we do that, Nigeria will begin to change, actually. Right? We need to change on its own. Look at our oil industry. We were doing 2.6, 2.5, 2.4 million barrels. Then now we're doing 1.2, 1.3, and we are clapping. Oh, it's increasing. Says who? Who did this to us? How can we be doing 1 point something? That you're doing less than the quota you're giving. You have refineries that don't work, and you're paying the people who ruin the refinery salaries. So we live in a very interesting country. Somebody should tell me how this country works, But at least we have said we are going to do appraisal-based service. Let's see how it unfolds, because we can't give what we don't have. The politicians are not appraising themselves. They're not appraising their colleagues. I don't know how they can appraise civil servants. Especially civil servants, some of them are also appointed. Permanent secretaries are appointed. How do you appraise the person you appointed when you cannot appraise commissioners, you cannot appraise ministers? I don't know how it's going to work, but at least it's good to hear. So let us all hold them accountable and hope that they will begin to implement this kind of promise.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry. It's been a very, very interesting session today. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and I hope they're listening. Let's keep working. Maybe one day they'll listen to us and begin to do the needful. And thanks for doing what you do.
All right.
Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much. All right, to you listening, thank you for being a part of the Front Page Review on VOP 96.1 FM. My name is Gesire. I'll be back at 9 a.m. with the news around Abuja. But before that, at 8:30, you'll be checking out the sports bit. Obviously, Franklin and Nonso will be here to talk to you about Man City and how we're going to thrash. How we are going to win in our match today. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to the Front Page Review. My name is Gesire Agua. Good morning.